Hello, I'm Gus Downing, publisher and editor of the D&D Daily, and this is the LP News Network. We're here today at the NRF Protect 2016 conference with Bob Moraca, CPP, CFE, with an MBA and Vice President, Loss Prevention for the National Retail Federation. The NRF Protect is the nation's leading retail-specific event for those who protect retail brands, assets, people, and profits. This conference draws attendees from a wide range of fields, including loss prevention, asset protection, IT, and cybersecurity. At the NRF, Bob is responsible for directing all the loss prevention initiatives, including the NRF Protect, Conference, and Expo, the LP Advisory Council, and the NRF Investigators Network. He also helps lead the industry's advocacy efforts around increasing the awareness of retail loss prevention and asset protection issues, including cybersecurity, organized retail crime, active shooter issues, workplace violence, and disaster preparedness. The NRF's LP Council helps guide the NRF's LP efforts and helps steer the 7 NRF LP Council committees. These 7 committees, comprised of the Awards and Recognition Committee, the Content Committee, the Diversity Committee, Education and Research Committee, the Legislative Committee, the NRF Investigators Network, and most importantly, the LP Women and LP Caucus. They play critical roles in adding value to the industry and ensuring we remain on top of and responsive to the issues and needs of our industry. With that, I'd like to thank Bob for joining us.
Thank you, Gus, for having me. This is awesome.
Bob, you know, my first question is that this is a huge show, really the biggest show, LP-specific show in North America. Can you give us a look behind the curtains, so to speak, and share with our viewers some of the planning and details that goes behind all of this effort?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'll tell you what's most interesting about it. I know that I'm 53 weeks out from NRF Protect 17 already, because we're building PF17, P17 now, because we're learning lessons, we're finding where we can expand, but it is becoming an around the year event. Mm-hmm. We open up early. We've got the help from the Loss Prevention, or the LP Council, as everyone knows, but then we have a very great subgroup, a terrific subgroup led by Mo Coltier from AN Inc., mm-hmm. who it's our Content Committee. So we've got about a dozen LP executives who are we're constantly out there on the mend and looking for what's the latest, what's the greatest. You know, I will tell one little dirty little secret. I do count on the D&D from time to time to find out what's out there, because we can't research everything. But we look at the trends, the emerging issues that are taking place at the time. Mm-hmm. Now, I got to tell you, and sometimes, I don't want to be cavalier about this, sometimes you just get lucky. Mm-hmm. We had General Michael Hayden, right. Former head of the CIA, former head of the National Security Agency.
And he was on CNN just last night.
Yes, he was. And who would have known that the horrific events of Orlando mm-hmm. would have been just a few days before we had the opportunity to hear from him. Mm-hmm. He was inspirational in his comments and sobering mm-hmm. at the same time about what our industry faces. We know we're a serious industry, you know, but I'm not sure I've ever seen it this serious, mm-hmm. you know, with what happened at our friends at Walmart just, not long ago. Mm-hmm. It's getting a more dangerous, more dangerous, more risky world all the way around. So we're going to focus on those issues this year. We finally have somebody talking about facial recognition.
Mm-hmm. First time in history.
Yes, a lot of retailers won't talk about that.
Great article on NRF.com, by the way. That was fantastic.
Yeah, did you see it? It really puts it in perspective. And we couldn't get retailers, but we got kind of a legal angle on mm-hmm. the liabilities and where this whole thing is heading. Mm-hmm. As you know, I'm a believer that facial recognition, used the appropriate way, can change the trajectory of the whole industry. Mm-hmm. I think it's the next big technology that can help us.
And it's been something that has been kind of kept under the carpet for 10 years.
Yeah, that's right. It's
but
been
yet
around.
Exists,
yeah, right.
And now is more broadly used, you know, by the operators for online purchasing, for the mobile.
That's correct.
With the beacons in the stores that are identifying the customer that's walking into the store to help that customer. So
that's right.
It's really also, you know, about customer engagement. So.
And all of those technologies you spoke about, we're finding that the marketing folks can use it, the IT folks can use it, mm-hmm. the LP folks. Sometimes, I know the IP cameras that are in the stores, there's marketing folks that are using that to mm-hmm. see how things are selling, how people are moving in the store. Sometimes they think, oh, it's a marketing camera, and mm-hmm. LP uses it too, mm-hmm. which is exactly what you want, right? You want to mesh your LP operations into the business mm-hmm. so that you're invaluable. Because let's face it, when they think that they can, sell sweaters and food and all the other commodities and try it without LP for a while, sometimes they try it.
Well,
We've seen that in the industry.
Yeah, and LP was really the first ones to bring surveillance cameras into the stores.
That's exactly right.
Facial recognition was really an LP issue to begin with, but now it's kind of become a broader use and more benefit and can drive sales. Right. So now it's wonderful to see that it's kind of acceptance so far.
Just to get back to that last question about how we build this, we build it, and what I love to do is we come up with 25, 30, 40, 60 ideas, and we move them in and out. We put them on the parking lot, we move them back in, because we've got to be right in line with what's happening, say about 3 months out from the event. So when we finally want to put that final agenda together, we want to be right there, right on the cutting edge. Right. That's what we do.
Well, you've hit the hot topics. I mean, I think this is probably, arguably, one of the best shows from a session perspective that I've seen in all the years I've been coming, from active shooter and, civil disorder, digital, mobile, fraud, building a powerful brand, and even from an HR perspective. Yes. So my hat's off to you there, and the entire team.
Yeah, and it is, let's face it, we know LP is a team sport, and I love the team I work with. Our LP executives are top shelf.
This is, to get back to what I said earlier, this is a huge show. I mean, and it's grown over the years. I mean, my first one, which I dare not say, but 1984 was my first one. I mean, there was like 400 people here, and now it's close to 3,000. What do you attribute that growth to, and what do you predict in the future? I mean, in its continued growth. I know that you're dealing with the food sector now and such. I mean, how did it get here, and where is it going from a growth perspective?
Terrific question. We rebranded 2 years ago. We took that, it used to be the LP conference and had this big long name, which was wonderful, recognizable, but we took to the next level with the rebranding of NRF Protect. Kind of says it all, and assets, people, brands. And at the end of the day, we want to continue that growth. My goal 2 years ago coming in was to outreach to other industries. And as you mentioned, we found that the restaurateurs in the restaurant industry, we have the same problems. We found out what they do have that retailers don't, thank goodness, is they have an alcohol problem. They sell alcohol, they have to deal with people that are intoxicated, and that's a little bit of a different thing, but guess what? They do investigations, they work on active shooters, they're part of commercial facilities, soft targets for terrorism. All the issues that we have in LP, they have. So we did the outreach. We worked with the National Restaurant Association this year, and we kind of had some food-focused but Food Focus LP together. And we've been very successful in some of the presentations that we've had. I want to reach out to FMI. They take a little bit different tact with their LP folks. We want to reach out to them. It's growing this event. It's for the industry. We're the NRF. Everyone knows that. We've got 18,000 individual members. But I've reached out to everybody. And even, I just want, no one entity like the NRF is bigger than the industry from my seat. I want everybody here. I want them to see what we're doing. Of course, I do want them to member up later on as we move forward. But I always have said, listen, if we don't protect this industry, it's not going to be an industry. And it's that serious. If we let the knuckleheads win, for lack of a better term, retail is going to go away as we know it. And we're not going to let that happen.
From a new perspective, I mean, I noticed that you had this one-on-one mentoring and coaching,
good catch,
which was a significant development. And you had we're talking about 10 to 2 both days, with a host of leaders that are just remarkable executives, all committed to it and all giving individualized coaching, which is brand new and unbelievable, quite frankly. And then I see that your boot camp is continuing to develop. Can you talk to a couple of the new things? Yeah,
the boot camp is great. We were West Coast.
What is the boot camp?
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I don't even like to use boot camp.
I like it.
It's emerging. We call it the Emerging Leaders Boot Camp.
Okay.
So what it is, we know there's enough stuff for the old dogs like me who have been in the industry forever, and the executives get together. We talk about the top level issues, how we contend with the C-suite and budgets. I wanted to develop something for the new leadership that's coming into the industry. You know, we're all going to retire someday, and they're going to pay our Social Security, we hope. So we want the future leaders to understand the industry, to engage. So we came up with this idea. You know, people that are 1, 2, 3 years in the industry for a very low price, low cost. We wanted to not have any hurdles. It's $100. I mean, it's amazing. For $100, you come in, you get a half-a-day workshop. Then the second day, you go to the Emerging Leaders Luncheon. It's an hour and a half of networking time where we take the volunteer leaders, sit at the luncheon table with 10 different emerging leaders, not from your own company. That's the beauty. So you can fire questions. They can think. Some of them use it as a kind of almost a mock interview so they can grow their career. And we need to do that for those emerging leaders. We want them to grab onto this and make a career out of it so we can educate our succession and our replacements. I wanted to do that the second year. It's sold out for 2 years, East Coast, West Coast. Now I've got to enhance that next year. I'm not sure where that's going to head, but we're going to do more of it.
Right. It's a wonderful addition, and you're so right. I mean, as a senior executive, you know, more so in age than in stature, but as a senior executive myself, I mean, our role is to teach, educate, and help guide those that are coming up in the industry. You know, and with the technology impacting it the way it is, and the millennials being so technology driven, I find myself in a position that they're teaching me. Quite frankly, probably more than I'm teaching them.
That's a very good point, Gus.
Yeah,
very
absolutely.
Well spoken.
You know, Bob, you've had a busy year, busy couple years. I mean, you've been in that role 2 years now.
Going into my third, yeah.
So the first year had to be like a whirlwind.
Oh, it was.
I'm sure. Because you started right before one of the shows, right?
I didn't know what I didn't know. That first year.
I remember.
It's awesome.
You've had a busy year, and you've been traveling the country, working with the nation's leading retailers. What would you say are the top 2 or 3 major concerns that have LP and AP up at night?
It's great. It's always good because you're always, those are literally the things that keep us up. So here's what it is. You don't want to discount what just happened in Orlando.
Right.
We understand that we're a soft target. Matter of fact, I had the blessing and the fortunate opportunity to testify in front of Congress just a few months back on soft targets. It was public gatherings, it's commercial facilities, retail, restaurants, theaters, ballparks, you know, all those areas that hospitals now, hospitality industry. We're living in this free society. We've got open doors in those areas, and how do you protect yourself in the environment that we're in? And, you know, we look at that Orlando event and we need to redouble our efforts. We do the see something, say something. Our partnerships with law enforcement is tighter than ever at every level. And now it's FEMA, it's ATF, it's OSAC, the Overseas Advisory Council, the DSAC, the domestic security the FBI runs. We're just partnering everywhere we can. We're going to spend money and blood and treasure to protect our industry. We need their intel to make sure we're doing it right. I see that as an ongoing problem. And then I think the technology changes. Every executive you talk to is doing more with less. And the speed of change is almost, you can't grab it as it goes, you know. New ways to deliver to the marketplace, the digital world. You know, it's coming so fast. Trying to keep up is a difficulty. And it's not just LP. It's the marketing folks, the IT folks, the operations, the supply chain. It seems like the speed of change of the entire industry is, I think, going to be one of the biggest challenges.
Oh, absolutely.
Moving forward.
You know, last question. If you're looking into the future, what's the profile of the LP leader in 10 years, 15 years?
It's a great question. You started this conversation, and I heard you say, you know, CFE, CPP, certified investigator, MBA. I'm just a strong believer that's where you need to go. You need to understand business. You need to understand the return on investment. To sit at that executive table, you need to understand where you fit in and where you can bring value, and it's a business value. You know, we're not going to apprehend our way to success. That's meaningless numbers at that executive table. You need to understand the business and show them where you're saving profit dollars, averting losses, equate that into a program that works, and convince them that you're right.
Will IT security and LP merge in 20 years, 15 years, 10 years? And who's really going to be leading the effort then when we are real time? When facial recognition is a standard, not an exception? in all of this is kind of, you know, everything catches up. You know, in the IT security executives, you know, quite frankly, according to news articles, I mean, they're looking for their own kind of designation. They feel separate from the IT department. So there's a little move going on there, and the LP folks are getting closer to IT security because the hackers are at the registers, the skimmers are at the registers. You know, they're in the parking lot with the mobile phones picking up the numbers. You know, so what's your thoughts in that regard?
My crystal ball says this: when you talk to the IT professionals, they say, I have to learn more about LP. They almost start to think that they have to become LP experts. Mm-hmm. And you talk to the LP experts, a lot of times they have this feeling that I've got to learn everything there is about IT. I think there's this, you need to do the merge. And we'll come out somewhere, 60-40, 30-70, 50-50, you know, more and more, we are tied at the hip, LP, IT. I think we're getting there, but I think the speed of change that we spoke about a few moments ago will force us more and more to work together because we're going to deal with limited resources. So both entities are going to have to kind of say, okay, you're the expert on that, I'm on this. Let's see where the synergies are. So,
in my opinion, once an executive has completed their typical education, whether it be a bachelor's or a master's, and become certified in the various areas, I think that if they're looking for additional education areas, is to take a cybersecurity course, not necessarily programming, but the concepts in the general workloads and the different kinds and such, so they have more of an awareness about it, bottom line.
It's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
And then you have to work together. That's networking within your own company.
Right.
You know, I always said, listen, your success, your net worth will be determined by your network. So even internally at your company, not just here at NRF Protect.
Yeah. Bob, thanks for being here today.
All right, Gus, my pleasure.
And thank you for the NRF supporting our events. It's an invaluable partnership for the Daily.
Great.
And as you know, I mean, we support education, information, and helping to build the industry, bottom line. And that's what the NRF is all about. So thank you very much.
Terrific. Thank you, Gus.
Well, that's it for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to thank you for watching. And until next time, let's keep them all safe out there.